Hello, world, and welcome to another great, fantastic, super duper episode of the Kaleidospoke podcast with myself, Richie Rich, alongside.
Bro,
You need to cue, like, there's a cue there.
bro, you could just say alongside Aaron, how you doing? And then I'm like, yeah,
No,
I'm ready. I'm here, I'm ready. Yeah. Of course,
it's
I'm
like
good.
Ant and Dec, right? I wanna get that sort of chemistry going. We're gonna need to work on this.
Yeah, you gotta talk to me off of air, bro, about that. Like, if you can give me a little bit of a brief, then maybe, we can get the whole back to back, the Gets and Kano kind of thing going on.
Of course. All right. So anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the recent episodes, our collaborations. We are super collaborative. It's all about sharing and caring. So if you haven't checked out those episodes, please do so. Go back and also tell your friends. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Today, it is the most profound things that we can talk about. It is beyond words, but we are going to express ourselves with words, because if it was anything other then if it was anything other than words, then this wouldn't be a podcast, perhaps. I don't know. Let's see. And to kick things off, we are going to talk about the question mark. I'll leave it there. The question mark of fake news. Now, we all know our good friend Mr. D. Trump has touted this word around numerous times, and it's kind of like in between every single word in these sentences. And we asked, what is fake news? And fake news is something interesting. It feels like it's something new, but actually, you look back into time, you have there's this one case where I think it was a guy called Orson Welles. He had a broadcast, 1938 broadcast. This was before TV, so think back, this was even before then. And he had like this kind of story script. People would go to films, people listen to, they gather around a stereo and they listen to these scripts, right? And 1938, and there was something called the invasion of aliens, something like that, alien invasion. So he's speaking with this kind of about this story of these aliens are invading the US and there's Martians and they've got zappers and everything. And people started fleeing their houses. They started running, packing their bags and we better get out of here. And this is 1938. I mean, and long before that, there's the concept of fake news. What is fake news? It's not new, but I think it's one of the new words that I guess you'll hear more and more as we go on to the age of social media. So, have you been a victim of fake news?
I mean, I think it's really difficult not to be a victim of fake news, and you got to call that number 0800. Please save me. And I think I've been close a couple of times to calling the number. No, but honestly, it's in this day and age, it's so hard to determine what is real and what is fake. That's news and otherwise. And so probably, yeah. I mean, that's a short answer to your question. Probably, yeah. Probably been a victim to fake news and probably eaten up the whole thing and regurgitating it to some poor soul somewhere, potentially you, and said, "Look, have you heard about this latest thing?" And it's probably just nonsense. I think the latest iteration of fake news, or the actual concept of this new version of fake news, like you said, comes from our good, right honourable gentleman, Donald Trump. And I think the idea behind it was to challenge the mainstream media and then call into question their credibility so that he could then, pretty much perpetuate whatever he want without too many people, doing too much due diligence. Because if he says fake news and everyone catches on to this term, then it just gets applied everywhere. And I think maybe
Yeah.
one of the dangers of fake news is that real news somehow becomes fake news because somebody says it's fake news. It's almost as that easy. The minute you say fake news, now this thing comes into question. And
Mm,
Donald Trump is the, at least in this iteration of fake news, he is the kind of like a perpetuator. He is the originator of this version of fake news. But mainstream media has to pump out stuff all the time, so a ton of it has to be fake. Like I don't know if you ever like seen those if you've been in a supermarket and you've seen those OK magazines or whatever it might be, those kind of, or
mm.
what's the American one?
The gossip magazines,
Yeah, and the American one is the Inquirer, I think. And
right?
it's got all these stories about all these celebrities, about all sorts of stuff. A
Mm,
ton of it's
mm.
fake. A ton of it's fake
But the thing
because.
is, there,
Mm,
I think like, I think there, it's like accepted. Like gossip is accepted to be fake, almost.
mm,
But then it transcends into non-gossip, like real world. Like,
mm,
oh, okay, like, uh, what's the word? Like, I don't know. Like Boris Johnson went to visit his grandma, last night, against COVID rules, like fake. Like it goes into that sort of territory, and it makes sort of real world issues kind of gossip like. And I think you know you got characters like your Donald Trump who kind of stoked the fire, but he's also given it a lot of attention, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. The other thing is you have like the within the elections, you've had all this like fake news banded about in regards to influencing votes. Like people talk about Russia and their influence or whoever it is, like these bad actors. Where actually, I think I think Facebook done a study where um, they took like top 20 fake news stories and top 20 like credible stories from credible sources. We say credible, like air quotes.
mhm,
And the fake news stories generated more engagement. Like it was more viral um, than the credible ones. And that could be many reasons, but also I guess the fake news is also generally polarizing. Like it kind of really is out there, and it's like, okay, wow, if this is true, let me share it. It's
mm,
like a shareable piece of content. Like, wow, did you know that? Oh, I think it's like there's one like, oh, someone just died, like, and that went around, and it's actually not true.
mhm, mhm.
So yeah, it's like it kind of goes back to like also like the motives of the perpetrator, like or the antagonist who
Mhm.
is creating these fake news waves.
I think the shock factor is such a big thing now, right? It's like the more you are shocked by something, the more you are likely to share it, and then the more you share it is the more revenue the source gets or whatever. So
Mm,
whether it's like a mainstream outlet, big MSBC or the Times or something, ultimately I think mainstream media is highly involved in fake news because it's almost like a dying industry. Like social media has
mm,
taken over, and it's harder to sell a newspaper, it's harder to sell real stories. So you have to go for a shock factor, and sometimes with that shock factor you got to exaggerate, which I don't think is a new thing. I don't think it's a new thing to exaggerate a story that um has happened, but you need to sell it, so you exaggerate. I don't think that's a new thing. But what I think is a new thing is just telling something that's complete lies and spreading it so easily by pressing buttons, on social media.
mm,
That's new.
mm.
This is the revolution. So
Yeah.
and that's where the danger of fake news is, because there's a ton of vulnerable people that are going to believe this stuff, and then
Mm,
share it,
mm,
and you know one vulnerable person amongst a group of 100, or yeah, over amongst a group of 100 is not necessarily too bad, but if you're able to connect, I don't know, 1,000 groups of 100, and now these 1,000 vulnerable people can all be together and have a voice,
mm,
then things get loud. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So this is where like fake news kind of then becomes dangerous potentially. I think.
yeah, yeah. It's almost that digital megaphone that
Hmm.
everybody has now. But funny, like when he was talking, I was just thinking about. I'm not sure on a specific story, but I do recall there being a story where an old sort of folklore where someone was coming to invade a country or something like that, or take it back, and they spread the rumor that they got like this army of hundreds of thousands of men, and it wasn't true. It was probably hard. It was like a tenth of the truth,
Mhm.
right? But just because of this fake news spreading and it going back to the to perhaps whoever the enemy, the foe,
Mm.
that in itself scared them. I think that's obviously analog times, and back in the day, that's an example of fake news and the reasons for it.
Yeah.
Uh, but this, as we're saying now, has kind of moved to this digital platform where anybody can create this piece of fake news,
Sure.
and the source is just this
Irrelevant.
enigma of, well, yeah,
um. Yeah. Look. It's funny you brought that up because look, fake news is Chinese whispers, isn't it? It's the same thing. Um.
mm,
And as much as the mediums in which we communicate have changed, we as a species, or we as an entity, a lot of things are remain the same. Like perception is a huge thing for us. We're all in our own perception of things, and sometimes if a rumor gets spread well enough, that rumor becomes real simply because it's spread enough. There's
mm,
nothing to back up this rumor. And
mm,
we're going to probably touch upon this on every subject we talk about today,
mm,
and how rumors affect everything. And when I guess you get enough momentum behind uh, a piece of news, or a piece of news in inverted commas, um, if enough people believe it, then it's real, man. It's real. It's real because
yeah,
they
it's
because
true.
they made it real. They made it real enough, and there was enough of a consensus, and that's
Mm,
ultimately what reality is, or I don't want to say truth. Truth is too strong, but is reality is consensus. If
mm,
I say the sky's blue, and 1,000 people out of 1,000 people say the sky's blue, then the sky's blue, even though the skies might be yellow.
mm,
So reality is consensus, and this is where fake news, it although I think initially this iteration was to put a doubt on what reality is, like it's like, what is reality? I think kind of inadvertently it's created just another reality, like of this
mm,
idea that, it's I don't know, it's the other, it's the opposite to what mainstream media is saying it is. It's the opposite. That's the truth.
mm.
So what they say is one thing. Think about the total opposite. That's the truth. And I think that's what fake news is about. This iteration, at least.
Yeah, and it's kind of almost like you have to kind of try to put up your filter in order to filter out this fake news. Do you know what I mean? Like or have some way of discerning what's fake and what's not. And I think people like social media platforms are quite. They can be quite dangerous in a way because I think we spoke about this before. But like it's almost like an echo chamber. Like if you start following and subscribing to certain followers or accounts or articles or sources, likelihood is you're going to be served up similar things, and then you go into this sort of like this sort of rabbit hole of an echo chamber, right? And what your perception then gets shaped by what you're seeing, and for all intents and purposes, for the majority, perhaps it's fake news, but for your majority who matters most is actually true. And that's for example, you have this the movement like QAnon, right? And it's there's a lot of people that believe it, a lot of people that look at these alternative news sources because they don't trust the normal, like the mass media stuff. And it's just interesting how fake news, as you kind of say, can actually turn into truth. Like this is not fake news.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on which side of the fence you're on. And I think that's when you talk about the motives of fake news, like everyone is trying to kind of like get eyeballs and sell advertisements or whatever, and also divide like left and right. Like, are you on this side or that side? And I think that's where the fake news becomes divisive, and and the fact that anyone can be access it, and anyone can be influenced by it is a tricky area.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I think I don't know, like have when you are scrolling the internet or you're looking on your phone or you're watching Bloomberg if you do, um is there anything that would send alarm bells to you to make you think, oh, this piece of news is fake? Or like, yeah, so I guess I'm asking you about what your filtering process is when it comes to news and information. Like, how do you determine what is, credible and what is not?
For me, it mainly comes down to sources of information. Where's this information coming from? And it's funny, like especially YouTube. I'm on YouTube quite a lot, and YouTube will clearly know this, like have this sort of like demographic and psychographic about me, and it will serve me up what I've been watching and with a recency bias to it. And so, of course, it has to like serve me up some new accounts that I've never come across before, but it's similar to the topics that I've been looking at. It's probably a bad thing because a bad example, perhaps. No, actually, no, because YouTube does have a rabbit hole. It has many rabbit holes. So yeah, I just mainly look at the source, and then I'll click on the video, look at the views. It's got a good amount of views. Okay, people have taken the time to watch this, and then I'll watch it, see how the character is, if they're coming from if I feel like they're coming from an honest perspective or not, and then sort of discern whether I feel like I can trust them. And it goes to that sort of like know, like, trust. Like, do you know them? Do you like them? Do you trust them? And that's when you might hit subscribe. So I think that's the typical journey.
Sure.
Like, taking YouTube as an example, but Twitter I don't really go on much, and if I do, it's just mainly the followers that I've kind of come across and I've selected.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but
Yeah. I mean, similar to you, right? I think for me, my filtering process for news is that I don't really watch it. I don't watch it. It kind of on social media, I will follow the accounts that interest me, and the news that comes to me via them is the news that gets to me. Mainstream. I don't read newspapers. I don't watch news on the TV.
no, but look, but you watch stuff about crypto, right?
Right.
Blockchain or Joe Rogan. So that
Right.
is your source of, whether it's like it's not current news or like news affairs or what current affairs, but it's still information.
Information.
News.
Sure. So I guess if that's the case, I guess I listen to people that also kind of admit that they don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like I like the idea that somebody, whoever's spreading this information, is saying, "Look, here's some information. Take it or don't." And do your own research. That's one thing that crypto taught us. And not even just crypto, just anything. Do your own research. And I think anytime I'm listening to something and I think, man, that sounds interesting. I need to do more research. And then I guess you confirm sources. And that's the way, for me at least, that I can determine, okay, this is credible, because more times this seems to have some type of accuracy, or this is not credible because this is just one source saying something. Like I'm when a person says something to me, I'm terribly critical. Not like I wouldn't say in a negative way at all. Like, but more so like I've got some questions I need to answer before I can say yes, I believe you. Like
Well, before you can put like £10,000 into Dogecoin, yeah.
yeah, 100%, 100%. It's like, is Elon gonna pump next week or no? Like, because if Elon's gonna pump next week, and you're
These are the
telling
big
me Elon,
questions.
yeah, if Elon's gonna pump next week, and you're telling me Elon's gonna pump next week, and I message Elon and he doesn't come back to me because he knows that he has to come back to me. He knows. If he doesn't come back to me and say, "Yeah, I'm gonna pump it next week," then I'm not in it. Forget that. Forget
So you're only about pump and dumps, yeah? That's
that.
what we gathered.
This
Okay.
is this is not investment advice.
No, but the thing is the tricky thing is about this fake news piece or like this information, misinformation, disinformation, is that the like you could say that you check one thing comes across your desk, your virtual desk, right, to say, yeah, this could be Twitter feed or whatever. You give it a bit of attention, you know. You like it, you watch it, you engage with it. So then and I think this is from I think there's a Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma. But anyway, so you give it a bit of attention, and it's like, oh, the algorithm is like, oh, you like this, and then it kind of like recalibrates that recent engagement, and it gives you more,
Mhm.
and then it gives you this sort of confirmation bias because you're like, actually, this is true. Like, this is definitely true. Like, the world is flat because I've not just watched one video; I've watched 10 videos, and they all say the world is flat. But and then this fake, this what someone else might call fake news is actually not fake. It's real because it's been given to you 10 times, 10 different authors saying the same thing but in different ways, and it's convincing. So it's a very double-edged sword of trying to find alternative sources to fact check your this piece of new information. So it's a tricky world out there. It's a tricky world, and I think we to one point, like we have sort of digital natives, right? Like we're kind of digital natives, like Gen Z, etc. But whether or not we have like digital literacy is another question.
Oh, that's a really good question. Like uh, this is this is something that we're navigating. We're navigating it as it's being built. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like we're navigating something that's been tried and tested. It is being tried on us. So it's a really good question, man. But dude, again, like I said before, man, reality is consensus. So if you decide that there's a question on a particular subject, then try to get consensus in as many places as possible. And if you can't get enough consensus, then maybe that's not reality, you know. And that's that's all.
That's
That's all.
that.
That's that. That's all I can say on that.
So if it's not consensus, it's not, don't believe it.
Don't
But
believe
if
it.
it is consensus, then Dogecoin is going to moon, basically. It's
Basically,
going to, yeah, it's going to $10.
all right. Basically,
According to Elon Musk.
basically, look, because how else does it get there? How else does it get there apart from consensus? It only gets there
Mhm.
because so many people will buy into it on the idea that it's going there, which
Mm.
ultimately makes it go there.
That's true. It's a belief system.
That's it. That's it.
So um, let's talking of Dogecoin now. That's our second topic, right? So for those who don't know, like Dogecoin is the cryptocurrency to hold. This is not investment advice.
How could you do that to our listeners? How dare you? I don't
But
know
if you
this
don't hold
guy.
it, you're missing out. Like, this could like buy you a Lambo. Um, anyway, so Dogecoin is this sort of like this cryptocurrency. It was a joke. It was created in 2013 by two engineers. One's called Billy, the other one's called Jackson. Anyway, and he created this like joke coin, right? It's like Bitcoin was like in 2009. There's a lot of like there's like a kind of subculture thing, sort of Bitcoin, right? In those days, well, in those days, like it's only like 10 years ago. It's crazy. So Doge was created, right? And it was like a branch of another coin called Litecoin. So Litecoin was like the kind of like another like the silver of Bitcoin. Apparently today, that's what people like liken it to. And Dogecoin was just like this kind of joke, right? It's like this like dog, which is like this. I don't know. I think it's like a Japanese dog. I think that's like the symbol of it. And then it had like this sun around it, and it's like it said like many sunshine, much mornings. Like it literally is a joke. But it was very big and popular on Reddit, and sort of that subculture of Reddit, which is now kind of surfacing to be a bit more mainstream than it was back then. And yeah, this coin, I think literally was used for tipping in this forum called Reddit. They used it a lot of the tip and just pass tips to people who are doing good, passing good comments, etc. And I think in about a week or two, or actually, yeah, a week or two, just call it in the early bits of 2021, and I think the latter, it mooned. And the concept of moon means it shoots to the moon, like it goes parabolic and it goes up like thousands of percent. I don't know, maybe Aaron, you got the percent, but yeah, the thing jumps like a jumping dog, and partly was because our main man Elon Musk kind of like was tweeting about it, and other bits was around Reddit and GameStop, and again because GameStop was part of this Reddit community, and then Doge is big on Reddit community. It's all part of the kind of pump and dump street type thing. It gets a lot of love. So yeah, I mean, basically, guys, if you don't hold Dogecoin, I mean, you're gonna be a pauper in 2030. So it's not investment advice, but hold the Doge. Doge is
Hold the Doge. Hold the Doge.
good.
Oh man, it's
So funny.
I'm glad you kind of introduced people as to what Dogecoin was and what it started out as, because this is a joke. It is a joke. It's that's if you want to know what a joke is, if you want to do a calculation for what joke is, Dogecoin plus actual money equals joke. That's
But
that's the
no,
calculation. But
no. Oh,
again,
okay.
yeah, don't worry, I'm ready. But like I said just a minute ago, consensus gives value. Do you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I think to a degree, it's most of crypto. There's 8,500 coins. There's a lot of coins that are blatant scams, and I think because everybody understands that Dogecoin is a meme coin, it's not a scam. It's actually not. You can transfer value with it, which is what you can do in many cryptocurrencies, mainstream currencies that are well renowned in the sector. So it's like it's a meme, but it has some use case. And I think one of the things that that happened this year was, like you mentioned, the GameStop AMC thing. We've read it. This momentum is bubbling now. Bitcoin has been rising. Bitcoin as a concept is the rebel to the current financial system. Do you know what I mean? So there's this undercurrent of this bubbling of rebellion, financial rebellion, and Dogecoin would be something that encapsulates everything. Actually, this thing here is a joke, and we're going to give it value because we're all saying it has value. Which is this, you could apply the same logic to cash, to money. to
Yeah.
yeah, like, so it creates a social question. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the message behind Dogecoin more than any other coin, but that's the message behind Dogecoin, that value again is about social consensus, and whether
Mm,
it's in fiat or Dogecoin, that's doesn't matter. The consensus is what matters, and I think
mm.
our guy Elon Musk, he is trolling. He at this point in time, he's trolling pretty much anything. Bitcoin, Dogecoin. He is heavily trolling, but
This guy.
it's almost like to mock the 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 system and the people. I feel that he's mocking both people, both sides. It's like, all right.
Mm.
I think he tweeted something today like, Dojo for Doge. So I'm not sure
What
if
does he
there's
mean?
I don't know. I'm not sure. There could be a new coin called Dojo that you should trade for your Doge, and
Let's look up Dojo now because it
yeah,
could be
let's look. It
it
could
could
be
be the
Moon.
next moon.
It could be Moon. Let's look now. But I mean, like, to put it in perspective, right? Um, Dogecoin, prior to Elon uh announcing, I think Dogecoin was sitting at like roughly about 0.2 cents, right? So I'm gonna try and do the maths on air. I'm good at maths anyway. So it's doing 0.2 cents, right? After Elon tweeted it, and bear in mind it's a bull market in crypto, so everyone is putting money into crypto anyway. It went to 8 cents, 8 cents, from 0.2 cents to 8 cents. Now
Mm.
I don't know what that is. That's 4,000%, 5,000%. I can't do. That's 500 times 8. What's 500 times 8?
4,000.
4,000%. That's 4,000%.
Yeah.
So if you had £100 in it, that's 4 grand. Now, to say
Damn.
to say, you know, if you was the lucky person to put £100 in it when it was 0.2 and then cash out when it was 4 grand, to say that your 4 grand isn't real is crazy, you know?
Mm.
Which then begs a question, why isn't Dogecoin real? It is. To that person who just did that trade, it very well is, because they got 4 grand in their hand, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a great social joke. I love it. I love the idea.
So do I. I think like I was watching Ready Player One the other day, and also just yeah, Ready Player One. I use that as an example, and you got all these coins that they have to collect, etc. And you can only imagine, and even I think Black Mirror, like all of these kind of futuristic examples of how life will be, like civilization. You can only imagine like Dogecoin being a coin which people use. Like it's no longer pounds. It's no longer it in this world of value exchange, which we currently use a centralized government, and it's pounds, it's dollars, it's euros, it's whatever. In this new world, we're not restricted by these borders and these sort of these governments and centralized systems
Mm.
entities. We are buying cappuccinos with Dogecoin, and I feel like that's going to happen soon. Like, I mean, it's probably possible now, but I
Yeah.
feel like in our lifetime, we will be not spending the likes of the typical currencies that we're using now, but more so we're going to be using the likes of Dogecoin, etc.
I think actually you're totally right with that. Like, imagine a future where you have, like, you've got this array of coins that you can use. They all got kind of different values. And you're like, all right, I want to go and buy that phone. And you're like, oh, can I buy that phone with, I don't know, 1,000 XRP? And they say, no, you can't. And then you look in your wallet and you're like, all right, I don't have 1,000 XRP, but I can buy it with, like, I don't know, 10 million TRX or something. I got that. And I think it's almost like all of these mediums can be used as transaction value. I think that is a I think that looks like the near future for us. Rather than just being pounds or dollars or whatever it might be that whatever you're holding in your wallet. And already with a lot of these uh exchanges, they have their own debit card which you can use to withdraw money or to to swipe and stuff. So it's pretty much on the horizon. So yeah, that near future reality that you paint, I think I'd agree.
It's funny, right? As you say that, I can just imagine, right? It's even now we still this still happens, right? But you have this guy who's a farmer, and he cultivates and whatever he has cattle, right? And there's a farmer in another town or whatever, or his neighbor, and he needs chickens, or he raises chickens, and you got this barter system, right? Like you got this chicken that can produce eggs, and you got this cattle who can produce like milk, um, and beef, whatever. And you have to like agree how many chickens is this cattle worth. And again, we are digitally moving towards this, right? Like instead of like this farmer cultivating his land, you have these digital natives that are collecting these bits and bytes, these zeros and ones, and there's a market, and there's people that believe in the market because it doesn't get hacked, it's decentralized, all the sovereignty and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, you can literally swap my Dogecoin for a Bitcoin if you
Mm,
have
got
how many
enough.
you're gonna need. You're gonna need a Dogecoin.
Yeah, I think you need like probably like 1 billion Dogecoin, maybe more.
Billion, 1 billion Dogecoin.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
back to Dogecoin in particular. I think Dogecoin is the representation of like, we need to stand up and challenge the central systems that govern all of this, because actually value could be in anything. It could be in whatever you want it to be in. And I think Dogecoin is that encapsulated. And yeah, man. Are you holding any Doge at all?
I can't say I don't want to disclose my holdings.
This guy, he's a Dogecoin well. That's what he is.
Yeah, I got all of 100,000 Doge. It
100,
could be quite a lot.
100,
It's about what would that
100,000
be?
Doge isn't that much. I don't know, like uh five
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 grand or 500?
500 quid maybe max. Not that much.
Nothing to
Uh,
brag about.
maybe 5 grand. Maybe 5 grand. Maybe I don't know. Well, I think Dogecoin has unlimited supply, so I think that's a problem.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
I think
true.
that's a
It's
bit
not
of an
prolific.
issue. No, but yeah, it's interesting nonetheless, and I think this is another great aspect to this Dogecoin, or a great question to this Dogecoin. Um, celebrity investors, you know, you've got
Mm.
you've got the big question, because how is it that Elon Musk can tweet something and then the market goes wild on his tweet? You know, is this manipulation? Is it manipulation if it's uh available to the public? That's a good question.
Well, he's got no insider information, right? I think the manipulation perhaps could come because of the liquidity question. But you know, Elon Musk doesn't really care. He's done this before, even with his own like stock of Tesla. So this guy's living in a simulation for all he cares. So it's he, he doesn't give a damn. But you also got like the likes of Snoop Dogg jumping on the bandwagon, and he was tweeting about it at a similar time. Um, Probably bought a big bag and then you know rid
Yeah.
it to the top. So
Snoop Doge.
yeah,
Snoop Doge. Snoop,
Snoop Doge.
Snoop Doggy Doge.
My man. That guy's quite impressive. He's always like somewhere on the cutting edge of things. Like
Oh,
I remember like reading about Twitter, and he was like trying to invest in Twitter before it even blew up.
mhm.
Um, yeah, so
I think I
watch
think
out, watch out for Snoop.
I think that's the way you gotta be, like as we get older, it's really easy to see like even us, like when I think about this is slightly off topic, but when I think about like drill music, it's like it's this is I don't really get this, it's a little bit beyond me, it's for the younger ones. And it's really easy. I can see how people fall into the trap of like, wow, like this is for the younger ones. I'm not going to investigate and I'm not going to learn about this thing because actually it's not for me and my generation. And I think that's where the danger of getting lost in time comes, like I think it's important for everybody to be like, be curious, keep your curiosity. If
Mm,
something, if a new, if if a younger person comes to you and says, "Oh yeah, 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 that thing that you do is kind of obsolete. Like you should look at this. Look at it."
mm,
Like I've got that relationship with my own dad, and he's kind of taught me that through his own actions without actually verbally saying anything. He's always
mm,
kind of like um been in the know of what's going on now, even at a distance. And I think, with crypto, Doge, all that stuff, um, it's just the thing for our generation now. Like we both got kids.
mm.
There's going to be a time when they get to 20, 25, however old they are, and there's going to be something going on. I want to know. I want to know. Tell me. If you don't tell me, I'm
Yeah,
I'm going to find out and I'm going to tell you.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. You want to stay trendy. You want to stay up to the time. You don't want to be that guy or that dad who's like saying, "Oh, show me how to like send an email," or show me how like TikTok works.
Mm,
Um, what is this about?
mm,
So yeah, it's. I think you're right. I think we should always try as much as we feel like we separate or segregate ourselves naturally over time when all these young kids are doing these other things and they're like, that's what the young kids do. Let me worry about what the older kids do. But you're right, because they are ultimately the next generation, the next wave, the next opportunity. Um, yeah, yeah. And there's always interesting stuff happening in the
mm.
sort of young world. So moving on to our final topic, we spoke kind of around this area, but I think this is going to try to hit it home, and it's the most profound thing you can think of. I think we had a conversation last week about you know the sun being just one star in this galaxy, and this galaxy is just one of the galaxies in our universe, and actually there's multiple universes, and all of this stuff is just like, whoa, shut the front door, like the North Star that I'm looking at every day. Actually, that's a sun. That's actually like we call our star a sun, but actually there's bigger stars out there, and different galaxies and other stuff. So we kind of got me thinking. You always kind of said this as well. Like we are, maybe you can tell us, but we're living in a simulation, right? And it kind of goes back to that scene with Neo and Morpheus, the red pill, the blue pill. The red pill being an unpleasant, life changing truth, but then the blue pill is like this blissful ignorance. Um, and so, which one do you take? Which one do you live in? And so, I don't know which one. I think Neo took the red pill, maybe, and so he had to kind of go through this thing. But are we living in a simulation? Is what am I saying now? Is that real? Does anybody hear this?
Mm, mm.
you know what and it kind of goes like to the point of like life and free will and our purpose and why we're here and all that kind of stuff. But I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think this is a simulation?
Well, the whole idea of this being a simulation came from the Matrix for me. Like I remember this. I don't know. The Matrix came out in the late 90s. I think it was 1999, and I remember I would have been what 11, and my mum she watched it on the plane, and she said, "Oh, there's this movie you gotta watch," and I was like, "Okay," and then it was Matrix, right? She brought it back to me, bought it on tape VHS, and I watched it.
Old school.
I watched it. I was like, wow, like mind kind of blown. But after that, I watched it every day before I went to school for at least 2 years. Like I watched this same thing every day to a point where with the Matrix One, at least, I know pretty much word for word this movie, and it really makes you think about if this was a simulation, how would you know? How what idea? What makes you believe that you would be able to tell the difference between it being a simulation and it being real? I mean, the whole idea is that you can't tell. Even if you could tell, it doesn't matter. You can't escape. Unless somebody comes from the outside and gives you a choice to take a red pill or a blue pill.
Mm.
And the older I get and the more attached I get to things and people, it makes me question which pill would I take. Like I'll ask you first. You remember the movie? If got presented with the red pill, which is the truth, or the blue pill is to just continue in this, which would you take?
I would want to know the truth. Of course. You go red.
Right. So if you try and cast your mind back to the movie itself, yeah. Neo takes the red pill Matrix One, and ever since then he's going on this journey about um the the source of the Matrix, and his purpose within the Matrix, and fighting the antagonist, which is the agent. Um Now, if you was, I'm gonna again ask you again. I'm gonna ask you again, but before I ask you, I'm gonna paint a picture to you. So, if it was to be proven that now, once you take this red pill, your lady, she wasn't real. Your child, she wasn't real. I wasn't real. Everything you know is not real. Would you be prepared to give that up to go on this path where you're effectively in a war until you die?
Ooh, that's tricky.
Mm,
That's
mm,
tricky. um, yeah. I don't know, because then I think about all the people that have gone through this blissful ignorance, this, and they continue to be, and it's fine for them. I mean, what's happened? They've lived this life. They've enjoyed it while they're here, right? As we all are. So, what's the point of why stop the music? The music is sweet. Life is sweet.
mm,
So, yeah, to think that this one red pill will stop my music and to bring me in some next dimension,
mm.
or something that I don't want to, or wipe the memories and nothing existed. That's a pretty big leap of faith. Uh, so it depends on the day.
Because there's, in that movie, there's a character called Scyther, the first Matrix, a character called Scyther, and he has been at some point in his life, he took the red pill, and then he becomes, a bit jaded with this war that he's in, and wants to be back into the Matrix where ignorance is bliss. He can be reprogrammed as an artist that has a ton of money and just living a good life. It's a lot easier than fighting a war of truth.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
um, and you know, as I've got older, because when you're young and you watch this, I was 11 when I watched this movie. when you're young and you watch this, you're like, man, yeah, of course, I'll take the red pill. Gun ho, red pill, yes. I want to know the truth. I want to know what's actually at the core of this existence, what's really happening. Um, the older you get and the more attached you become to your comforts, which include your family, which include your goals, which include your habits, which include everything that you think you know, the harder it is to be like, yeah, 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 I'm gonna just take that red pill. That blue pill
Mm.
starts to get a bit more attractive. Actually, oh, I kind of like octopus. I don't care if it's just sensations to my brain that's telling me it's happy and I'm not actually eating anything. I don't care, you know.
Mm. I
Um,
like it.
yeah, I like it. So what?
Yeah.
Like so,
Yeah.
and again, then I'm gonna flip this on its head. Then are you somebody then who doesn't really care about the truth if you're prepared to take the blue pill? Are you somebody that at that point you're willing to accept all of the 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 potentially bullshit that you're facing on a day-to-day basis, not in a bad way, but like what should I eat today? You know, how big is my house? How fast can this Ferrari go? Does that take more interest to you as a human, as a soul, than what is the truth? So this is like hard, in my opinion, in my mind. This is life defining questions. Red pill, blue pill.
Of course.
It's a life defining question. It's like what is your soul? What are you inclined to do? Like what be comfortable or be knowledgeable? Um,
This is an interesting thing, but also it's you don't have to go so extreme to kind of see this choice, this decision that you need to make, because for example, if you're born into a culture, a belief, a religion, that's essentially the blue pill, right? And then for you to be a heretic or like counter that or contra that, then you need to almost go down this unpleasant path of finding a truth that is different to this this lovely rosy life that would actually be played out to you. And I think many people actually go through this, not in the same extreme as Neo, and with dodging bullets, but to some extent, it is big enough for them in their life. Like they make a decision and they need to go and leave their family, or they need to make life choices. And I think sometimes we are faced with these blue and red pill decisions either once or many times in our life. And so yeah, it's not just even assimilate. There could be assimilation within assimilation. How about
yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure,
that?
for sure. How do you know? How do you
How
know?
do you know?
How do you know?
And one thing is like, if it is assimilation, does that mean that we are there is this other advanced civilization that has set this program, like and is playing us or watching us or observing us? Like, whose simulation is this? Because there's assimilation is a world that's created, right? But who has created the simulation? That's another question, right? We can create a simulation of Sims, yeah, and or Roblox, or Fortnite. That is a simulation. So whose simulation is this? If it's a simulation,
There's so many movies that encapsulate this concept so well. Matrix, obviously, a number one. Um, Tron does that really well. Um, Ready Player One does that too. Um, as to which world is real and who controls this world. Now, some people will say it's God. Some people say this is God's simulation. Like we are just a part of God's plan, and whatever God wants, is the path that we end up following, regardless of whether you choose it or not. So again, the question of free will comes into it. Um, but ultimately, I think if you choose to believe this is a simulation, I think it's a great coping mechanism as to, what you see on a day-to-day basis. And this is me. This is my own philosophy. You know, I I choose to see this as a simulation. It's my choice to see this as a simulation. It's a simulation I like, so I'll play. I'll play at being a dad. And I know this sounds wild, but I'll play. I like it. It's a good game. I'll play. I'll play at being a husband or a lover or whatever it is. I'll play at being a friend. I'll play at being a businessman. I'll play at driving a car. I'll play at. I'll play. I'm willing to play. But at the end of the day, because I've told myself it's a simulation, it allows me to play. It allows me to be like, this is a game, not a ha game, but like I'm playing, you know? And the only way that this game is over is when I die. If I die, it's just like any other game. You drop down the hole, you die, it's over, you know? And I think, and I think for for me, it's it's a it's a choice. I've chosen that this is a simulation to me. But it doesn't mean that the aspects of this simulation are unimportant. Like they have
Mm,
importance to me because I'm in it. If I was in it and out of it, then maybe it wouldn't have so much of an importance because then I could have a
mm,
different perspective and zoom out with more accuracy. But
mm,
I think because I can't zoom out so much without the eye, without being somewhere else. Um, I think that the aspects of the simulation, some aspects of the simulation have importance to me, which makes it real to me in this moment, in this simulation. But it's all within context. It's so within context. It's all like, yeah, well.
but I think you know what you're saying isn't too dissimilar from people who believe in God, right? Because they are essentially saying that this is a test. Life is a test, and therefore it's a simulation. Like almost like for all intents and purposes, you're saying I'm here. I'm going to live by these rules that are set by me, and it's either you or set by someone else. But everyone is living this life of with a view that there is something else. I would say everyone is, but those that are. So almost even if you're a believer of religion and believe there is this creator is almost giving you this simulation to play. Obviously, the rules that is set is determined by perhaps your following your rules of your game, your simulation. Um, but it almost feels like we are we are almost in our own simulation. And whoever be is the author is kind of insignificant. It doesn't really matter. If, for example, if we are in a game and there is this other being on another planet who's created a simulation, okay, we don't have a rule book, but we're just living, we're being.
Hmm.
Okay, if some people subscribe to the thought and the idea that there is this book, and this book is the truth, and this is the rules of the game, then this is the simulation that they're in. Like it's almost kind of insignificant to the point unless you think you're in a simulation and you try to jump off a roof and think you can fly.
Hmm. This is one of those subjects, right? This is one of those subjects. There's not going to be a conclusion. There's no answer. There's no answer. And you know, I liked what you said about how you compared, this view of a simulation and something else controlling it and religion. I think the biggest difference between those two is that, for me at least, I'm not sure if there's an after. Like this is my moment now. You know, whereas a lot of people in religion, um, although they subscribe to this is God's plan and this is, I don't have free will. Um, I'm in this thing and the destiny is written by God. I think they live in the idea that, if they carry out God's will or if they carry out, a righteous path, they end up in a better place. Whereas me, I don't know about all that. I'm also like, like hopefully there's another simulation for me to go in after, you know, whether it be better or worse, I don't give a shit. Just don't make me obsolete, please. It's
Just another game to play.
just I'm just another
So you
program.
want to be reincarnated?
You, ah, my energy. I think I mentioned this before in another one of our podcasts. Um, I think our energy carries over, right? Like so, energy is not lost; it's only transferred, right? Um, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if my conscious energy will be transferred. I don't think that, but I feel that my energy will be transferred. So, if I die, let's say I die, and maybe some aspect of me vaporizes into the sky or into the atmosphere or into the ground, and then it just creates more life, whether that life be oxygen or whether that life
Mm,
be grass,
mm,
like maybe that is my reincarnation, like
mm,
maybe that is it. It doesn't have to be so direct as to I become another human or another being, it's more just like my energy is transferred somewhere else.
mm.
Or, or, or this could just be a simulation of the brain. And, and, the brain has told me in this moment that I'm awake and I'm talking on this podcast. Um, but really, it's got its own agenda, doing its own thing. And when the brain shuts down, it all shuts down. It's all over, like so. It could be that. Could be that. I,
Mm,
I I'm
mm.
I. I'm not religious, man. I wouldn't say I'm anti-religion because religion creates a lot of good things for people. But
Mm,
like it's so relevant to me. It's so relevant. I have no interest. I have no interest in the after. I have the only reason I have some interest in God is because people find it so fascinating, and I'm fascinated
mm.
by people. But you know, um, for myself, no, not really. I'm fascinated by people and the time that I got now. Like I don't know about any
Yeah,
next time. I don't know about any next time. I don't know any about outside of this whole thing. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I guess we're going by like we're experiencing what we feel like we're experiencing in life now. I feel like I'm seeing you, perhaps, but in my mind, I'm perceiving you, and that is what life is, experience, I guess, and whether or not it's a simulation, as you say, it's a question mark, but one that will it unless it makes you jump off a building and you try to fly, then don't leave it alone. Unless you think you're Superman and you're going to stop cars as they drive into you, just don't worry about it. But if you think it's a simulation, so much so that you're going to start like I don't know, jumping off buildings, then yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Guys, don't do it. Buy Doge. Don't do it.
Buy Doge, buy Doge. Full leverage, full leverage.
Full leverage times 10. It's interesting because like this is round about the time we'd be thinking to like close this off. But me, I love this subject, man. Like this subject is like in my mind the essence of life. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like, all right. So if you thought it was a simulation, why do you give a shit about anything? Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you care about being in love, something like that? Why would you care about like starting a business or money? Why would you care about any of this stuff if you think it's just a simulation? And I think you know. Uh, I can't remember where I heard it, um, but it was some philosopher, and they said that the only thing that they know is that I am. That's it. They just know I am. Not I am anything. Not I am this or I am that. I am. That's it. Quite simply. And it was like it takes some time to digest and be like, okay, well, I kind of get what you're saying. Like I know that this could all be perception, but I also feel present. I also feel like even if I'm in a simulation, I am. It is me. Whether I be a piece of code, or whether I be a piece of like biological composition, whatever it is, like it is me. And I I don't know about free will, but I have free thought. I feel that I got
Mm.
free thought. And yeah. This subject fascinates me basically.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's life's purpose, right? Why are we here? And I think one thing that comes to my mind is like when you're speaking just about the concept of like God and the Creator, like in our mind or it, humans have kind of like depicted this sort of like omniscient being, but given that the world is billions of years old, the universe is same as well, and I think our civilization, we have only kind of recent history, right, of assimilation, thousands of years, only thousands, when the world could be billions of years old, or especially the universe. Like this, this godly being, thing, creator, could actually be this, this, this other civilization who's much more advanced and like put us here. Like, could
Yeah,
like this thing that everyone's worshiping could actually be this alien that no, like people think, what the hell? But actually, because hey guys, I created you. Like, showtime.
yeah, yeah.
And it's just crazy. I don't know. Like that's why I guess it's hard to subscribe to one truth when there could be multiple truths, and all of them kind of all talk about this one thing that's um, this creator of life. Life could be simulation. Life is simulation, almost, however you want to look at it. And yeah, we, no one's seen him or her or it or they. But imagine, they come down one day and say, "Hey guys, let's wrap this up.
Yeah,
The simulation's over."
yeah, yeah. And again, like, what's to make people think that this creative force has so much interest in us? Like, what's to say that our planet or our species is the most interesting species that it's created? Maybe it has more
Mm,
interest in ants. Maybe there's something about ants that's more interesting to the creator than us. Like
mm.
it's so it's like when I get into this mode, it's like my brain starts to get a bit like, it's like, dude, you're trying to escape. Yeah.
Logic.
And like I constantly think about a lot of species. And I think, all right, we're just one. We're humans, we can communicate, and this is all good and fun and stuff. We have sex, we have a good time, blah blah, we recreate. And but then I think always, what makes like me think that I know more than a cat or an ant or a tree? Like what makes me think that I know? Like my
Mm,
God, even though I don't have a God personally, my God or the human God is more important than the tree God, or more important than the ant God, or more
mm,
accurate than either of these things. Like what? Just
mm,
because I can kind of like put together some audible language that the rest of my species understand. Does that make me feel that I'm intelligent? And so because I'm
mm,
intelligent, I not only, and I'm gonna talk as man. I'm not gonna talk as Aaron. I want to talk as man. I feel that I'm so intelligent that I'm gonna create an idea of what the whole what God is, the creator of all life is, and I'm gonna say that it is like me.
mm,
What is that?
mm.
What the
I know.
how arrogant?
Chosen.
What's the arrogant? How do you get that arrogant? Like how have you got that far to think that you can picture what God is, and then go further to say that God created man in His image. Like, are you okay?
mm, mm.
It's-
But
it-
I think like even like there's this the cycle of life, right? The food chain.
hmm,
You know, we tell ourselves we are on top of the food chain, right? So we all these animals are, say we, but
hmm,
many say, you know, and all these animals are here for us. They're here, you know, and those that are not vegan, those that are vegan
obviously.
obviously clearly stand up for this. But yeah, it's crazy. We have these concepts, right?
Hmm,
You know, that we are top of the food chain. We
hmm.
are the chosen ones, and that's why we're here, and everything has to work around us.
Mm. And even we have these concepts of what is conscious and what is not, right? Like, so,
Mm,
my son, he's vegan, he's been raised vegan, which, I got mixed feelings about, but ultimately, if I was going to choose one way or the other, I'm quite happy that he's a vegan because it makes him conscious about what he consumes, which is good,
mm,
you know.
mm.
But the other day he was with me, and he's always pushed his vegan narrative about yeah, blah blah blah.
The cows, cowspiracy.
Yeah, bear cowspiracy, bear chickens, keep them alive. No, no, no. They could produce eggs. No, what are you gonna do with the eggs? No, don't make them produce eggs. They're always pregnant. Anyway, I said to him, plants are life as well. Like every time you decide to go off and like cut some lettuce down or some spinach or you know harvest fruits or whatever, you're taking lives
Mm,
away. Just because they can't talk, they can't make these weird noises, they don't have legs and arms, and you can't hear them. It doesn't mean I didn't say all of this to him, by the way. It do-
I'd say this guy's gonna like have nothing to eat or anything. Like, oh no.
but it doesn't mean their life is less important. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're talking about the reason you don't eat cows is because they've they're alive and they don't want to be killed. What makes you think fucking runner beans don't want to get killed or carrots don't want to get plucked out of the ground? They might have a whole bloody
Mm,
family down there like living their lives, and you're the one
mm,
to come out and say I've got to eat you because actually I'm doing the right thing by not eating any sheep over there. It
mm.
seems like it just seems to me again. This is why I like the simulation because it's so ironic. I love the irony of it. It's too ironic. It just makes me laugh all day, every day. Even when Bitcoin is going down on a day like today, I'm highly entertained by the irony of life and the irony of the simulation.
True, true,
Yeah.
true. That is true. I think also like probably I imagine, you know, the likes of Elon Musk as well. When he's like literally like saying Dogecoin, he's thinking, oh wow, this stuff is going up. Like what? Like he's probably having bants and entertainment in his own little world about this stuff.
Mm,
Um, and I think it strikes a balance. It's like, okay, well, this is interesting. Anything can happen. Just don't jump off a building.
mm,
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah.
mm,
No, I think look, we are where we are. We are here, um, and enjoy the ride. I think simulation or not, we should be thankful that we can perceive this stuff, and whether it's real or not, we're enjoying it. Um, and however people want to live their life is up to them, which is we think it's up to them anyway, um,
yeah.
which is the great thing. What I want to know is when are we going to colonize Mars to make a next moon? But that's another topic.
I can tell you right now it's irrelevant. It's so irrelevant. It makes no difference whether it be Mars or the solar system. There's only a matter of time before you'll need another one. Like yeah, yeah.
What about if our minds can be transferred, right?
Oh,
Right, and then the simulation never stops.
well, then we're talking interesting stuff. We're talking interesting.
Oh.
Then we're talking interesting. If we're talking about like we live beyond the body. Now we're somewhere else, then it doesn't matter where we live. Do you know what I mean? Like the planet itself is irrelevant, totally irrelevant, and that'd be some super interesting stuff.
Why could that not happen? Why could that not happen? Because, like literally our brain is our storage space and our computation, right? Like, and there've been films about this. I don't know what films maybe you know, but Trading Places perhaps is one. But literally, you can freeze. They can freeze like embryos. Perhaps even the body. I think they could even test it out. This can happen. Like you probably could contain a brain in this formula, keep it going, pump oxygen to it, in, out, and well, actually, this goes to a mind, body, soul kind of question, but then this brain is still working. This is the simulation. This still has memory, and you put it into another body, and simulation continues.
Well, I think you'd have to look at brain transplants and see how they all work out, right? Because that happens. People have brain transplants. No, I'm
not sure.
Okay, maybe they don't. I'm not 100% sure either. But like what you said about this mind body connection. So it's like you can have a brain that functions, right? But then to connect it to all the aspects of a life, and then put it into another life, I feel that some of those connections are going to be severed. Do you know what I mean? So you're not going to necessarily be able to access all of those memories. Even when you watch the movies, it's like the memories come back to people gradually and in flashbacks and in all like these weird types of ways. It's not like you just, oh, here's the brain of Aaron, and I put it in Ricky now, and now Rich is Aaron. Like, I don't think it works that way. It's like I think there's a lot of ties that are severed, and there maybe this is the question of what is the soul? Is it beyond the brain? Do you know what I mean? Is it something else? And I think, and I personally think that there's some type of connection between spirituality and brain. You do that with some psychedelics, you figure out some stuff. And and maybe these two things are slightly separated. And I think, like, hey, but the concept is 100% makes 100% sense. If you can transfer memories from a computer to another computer, why can't you transfer memories from a brain to another brain? Because effectively they're computers. I know it's an organ, but I'm sure there's ways to artificially keep them going. So maybe we'll draw one hippocampus here and put it in the other area, the other hippocampus, and then now you've got memories transferred. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a brain surgeon or a neuroscientist. I have no idea.
I don't think you have to, but I think it sounds plausible. I think if you consider the rate of our innovation and that what we can do, I feel like this is definitely something that will be in our lifetimes for sure.
I got a good question. What makes you think this hasn't been done already, just for people that can afford it?
I feel like the cat would be out of the bag. Like this would be out there. There'll be some element of it.
What if it costs $10 trillion?
No, I mean no one has that net worth.
Okay, what if it cost $100 billion? So only a couple of people could do this. Yeah, only a couple of people that could do this. So then, if only a couple of people can do this, why? And they say, okay, we're not going to talk, and then that's it.
Possibly, that's possible. Yeah, but then they're cheating. Like I don't think the simulation is like allowing cheaters. But I do think that technology, it does start expensive because it is an expensive, for innovation, research and development. But I feel like something like that, the cat will be out the bag, and it will gradually become cheaper as computation and research, becomes more cheaper and accessible and quicker and faster.
But you're talking about it like a consumer. You're not talking about it like as somebody who is seeing what its true value is. Like imagine it's just me and you. Me and you have the ability to, transfer our our brains into new bodies, let's say. Me and you, just me and you. Now, are you going to try and commercialize this for some reason?
But it wouldn't just be me and you, because there needs to be a whole bunch of laboratory scientists and all sorts to create this and to make this happen.
All right.
So the cat would be out the bag at some point.
I mean, you just assassinate them or some shit if they try to talk.
No, because then it's you'll need next generation of scientists and researchers and all this kind of stuff to improve it, etc. So the cat will be out of the bag. Like, this stuff is not just like in one decade. This happens. This is multi-decade research. Which, don't get me wrong, this stuff is happening. Like, there is research happening in this area, but there are publishments and there's this stuff is open source. But if I think keep it to yourself. If that's your motto, you would do that. But I don't think so.
I mean, honestly, if I was able to do that kind of stuff or unlock certain parts of my brain, then it opened me up into knowing stuff that 99.9999999% of humanity had no access to. Why would I share that? That's my thing, man. I'm not going to share that.
Fair enough.
Like I don't need money at that point. What is it for? Why would I share?
I mean, I think I remember a couple episodes I said, let's vote for you as the next prime minister. But I think with that sort of mentality right there, I'm not sure you'll get the votes, man. I'm not sure you get votes.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be a prime minister. I'm just trying to get 99.999999999% brain power so that I can rule over you guys, and you don't have a choice because it's dictatorship, not prime minister, dictator.
On that note, This has been enough chat. I want to thank everyone for listening. And if you haven't found us on Instagram, Twitter, then follow us at Kaleidospoke Podcast, where you can follow us and share and keep up to date with things. Any last words?
Yeah, guys, I don't really want to rule you. I'm so sorry. I was just saying it because Rich was pressuring me to say something catchy for the show, so it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I was under duress. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for checking out our podcasts over time. This has been a great journey for us. We're probably about almost nearing 20 episodes in, and we've had a great reception and people worked with us, and I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you are too, Rich. It's
of course,
it's been really cool, man, and I'd hope to keep doing this. This is great. And to everybody who's holding the crypto bag, just hodl, and to everybody else who's not holding the crypto bag, just pray and lockdown will end and COVID will disappear and there'll be a new thing, and we love you guys. That's it.